13th, 2017 to order. If you'd please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. And please let the record note that all council members are present this evening except for Ms. Armstrong. We have minutes from the meeting of February 6th. Without objection, they'll be approved. Seeing none, we'll move on to our schedule of committee meetings. Ms. Rabine.
Apologies, I'm just trying to catch up with you all. Couple of changes to the committee schedule that's on your desk tonight. So I'll point them out when we get there. Follow along, maybe make some changes as we go. First one is the first meeting. The Public Works Committee is going to start at 9:15 in the morning and go till 9:45 on the 15th of February. So that's a change. And we've added an agenda item for a bid award there for the Clark Fork Lane project that we opened up this afternoon. The Committee of the Whole will follow from 9:50 until 10:55. Parks and Conservation Committee will go from 11 a.m. until noon. The Land Use and Planning Committee will meet from 1 o'clock to 1:30, and the Administration and Finance Committee will meet from 1:35 to 1:55. And because the following week, Monday, February 20th, is a holiday. It's President's Day, and city offices, with the exception of wastewater, fire, and police, are closed. The City Council will not be meeting that night, and so we're setting committee meetings for the following Wednesday as well. That's the 22nd of February, and that schedule is as follows. From 9:10 in the morning till 10:55, the Parks and Conservation Committee will meet. Public Safety and Health will follow from 11 o'clock until noon. The Land Use and Planning Committee will meet after lunch at 1 o'clock until 2:15. The Administration and Finance Committee will meet from 2:20 to 2:40. The Committee of the Whole will meet from 2:45 to 3:15. And this is the second change on the committee schedule. The Public Works meeting scheduled for the 22nd of February is canceled, and the agenda item, which was an update on the snow removal plan and budget, has been postponed until the 1st of March. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Any changes to the committee schedule this evening? Ms. Marler.
I had emailed Ms. Hans earlier today. Help me if I'm missing it, but I thought on the 22nd we had a referral for Chamber of Commerce to come to Cal, and I don't see that on the agenda.
I'm sorry, the city clerk's office is down both Ms. Hans and Ms. Elam today, and so I didn't get that information, so I will add that on at the end of the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marler. Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Any other changes? All right, seeing none, we will move on. I will let the record note that Ms. Armstrong is present and pleasant, as a matter of fact.
It's very pleasant. Mary Ann, I'm sorry. I think we're going to need more time in Committee of the Whole on the 22nd then, because that's a whole other agenda item for 30 minutes.
So would you like Committee of the Whole to go instead of ending at 3:10 on the 22nd, to go from 2:45 to 3:40?
That would be great if it's acceptable to Public Works.
Public Works is not
There's
meeting.
no meeting that week for Public
On
Works.
the 22nd?
Yeah,
Oh.
that one's canceled. So that's a change from the schedule that's on your desk.
Okay, thank you.
Lots of late-breaking changes today.
All right,
Alrighty,
thanks.
we'll add the Chamber of Commerce to the Committee of the Whole on the 22nd, and the committee meeting will go from 2:45 now until 3:40 in the afternoon. Thank you.
All right, and we will move on to the public comment portion of our agenda. This is your opportunity to comment on items not elsewhere on the agenda this evening. Mr. Grimm.
Hi, I'm Doug Grimm, and I live up the Rattlesnake. And I wanted to come and especially talk to you people who are kind of new in City Council. I don't know if you were one of those people as a kid where your dad say, hey, let's go out for a Sunday drive. And I always found them very interesting. My folks would point out, well, that is the name of that river, and that's the name of that mountain, and things like that. Well, we have a highly organized person running the Office of Neighborhoods named Jane Kelly, and she is going to do kind of the same thing, except it's not going to be on Sunday or on a Sunday. It will be on a Thursday, write this down, April 20th. Now, I know she's going to pester you with this information again, or maybe she already has. But I just wanted to give you my personal perspective on this because I've been on a few of these little things she's organized. You know, you're not going to go in a car. You will be in a 54-passenger Beachliner bus. And what we will be doing is taking a look at the neighborhood that are in Missoula, roughly from the Bitterroot Railroad tracks to the west and up Grant Creek. And we will be driving that bus through all of these little areas that you've probably never seen. And usually what I hear is, and I've been on a few of these, oh my God, when did they build that? Or is that where that took place? And so as we're driving along, we will have speakers continually changing, and they will be telling you about what they know about the neighborhood that we're driving through. Now, the neighborhoods are going to be mainly in parts Wards 6 and 2, or the Franklin to the Fort, Orchard Homes, River Road, Captain John Mullen, Grant Creek, and West Side. And we will be starting and leaving from the Beachliner Barnes area and boarding at 4:45 on April the 20th, a Thursday. And you will be able to eat sandwiches on the bus as we're traveling along. Great, big, fat, delicious sandwiches. And we'll be, we need you, if you want to go on this, to see Jane or contact her. She's up on the second floor of City Hall, the Office of Neighborhoods, and pick out what kind of sandwich you'd like. And so, do we have any questions on something like that? Now, some of you people, I understand, will probably be speaking on the bus because we'll be going through your neighborhood, and then there'll be other people that will be talking. And so I advise you to really try and make this because you'll learn things that you never knew about your town, and you'll be a better member of the City Council. And of course, those of you who have been on this before, we would like to have you come again. And we've got 54 seats to fill up, so thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Grimm. Any other general public comment this evening? Ms. Prescott.
I'm Christine Prescott. I live at 120 Bridger Court, which is up off of 55th and Garrett. So I use Hillview Way almost every day when I come down. And I apologize for not coming here sooner to tell you how much I like it, the new Hillview Way. Well, the first time I drove on it after they opened it up, I thought, this is so great because we have cars and bikes and people can all use it together safely. And I thought, what a great model, because I don't know why we have to have tension between the bike community and cars, because everybody can use the same roads together. And I just think it's a wonderful model. I really like it. And I want to tell you too that 2000 was when we moved here. I don't know that I've ever seen anyone walking up Hillview Way in the winter. But this year, every time I go down, somebody's walking their dogs, or somebody's walking up from the store today. So people are really using it. And I love the lights. I think they're pretty when you're coming up Hillview towards my house. And there's so much light too that I know that I'm not going to run off the side of the road, and I don't think anybody else probably will either. So I just wanted to come and say thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Prescott. Appreciate that. Any other general public comment this evening? All right, with that, we will move on to our consent agenda. Items on that agenda were approved unanimously in council committees, and we save a little time on Monday evenings by considering these items all at once. Ms. Rabine will read the list of consent agenda items aloud so folks in the audience and those at home will know what we're considering, and we'll take comment on those items before we vote. Ms. Rabine.
Thanks. Tonight's consent agenda has 9 items. The first, is always, is to approve claims in the amount of $659,379.27 for checks that are dated tomorrow, February 14th, 2017. Number 2 is to approve claims related to the water acquisition in the amount of $4,490.11 for checks that are also dated tomorrow, February 14th, 2017. Number 3 is to confirm the mayor's appointment of Lydia Bryan to the Tourism Business Improvement District to complete a vacated term beginning immediately and ending on November 30th of 2018. Number 4 is to confirm the mayor's appointment of Bruce Bender to the Impact Fee Advisory Committee for a term to commence immediately and expire on November 30th of 2020. Number 5 is to approve a bond reimbursement resolution to authorize the Missoula Redevelopment Agency, or MRA, staff to use bond proceeds to make reimbursement to Urban Renewal District Number 3 for design, engineering, construction, and management work that the engineering consultants DJ&A will have occurred on the Mary Avenue West Streetscape Improvements Project. Number 6 is the first reading and preliminary adoption on an ordinance. We're setting a public hearing on March 13th, 2017, and preliminarily adopting an ordinance amending Title I, Chapter 1.16, entitled Election Wards, revising and updating the ward boundaries based on new population statistics. There's actually 2 different proposals, is my understanding, to the word boundary changes that are included in that hearing for folks who may be interested. Number 7 is a 2-parter. The first part is to approve the mayor's reappointment of Sandy Mitchell to the City Board of Adjustment, reassigning her from the alternate 1 position to a regular member to finish a vacated term that ends June 30th, 2018. And the second part is to approve the mayor's reappointment of Charles Gatlin to the City Board of Adjustment, reassigning him from the alternate 2 position to the alternate 1 position to vacate the term that ends on June 30th of 2017. And finally, number 8 is to approve the purchase of 1 2017 Aries Pathfinder pipeline inspection system from Utility Specialties Incorporated of Butte, Montana, for the purchase price of $54,000. This purchase price includes installation and retrofitting of the system into an existing inspection truck, unit number 324.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Any comments or questions on items on the consent agenda? Seeing none, anyone in the audience care to comment on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
On the consent agenda, hang on just a second here. Armstrong votes yes. Bentley votes yes. Cares votes yes. DeBari votes yes. Hedl votes yes. Hess votes yes. Jones votes yes. Marler votes yes. Swaney votes yes. Von Lossberg votes yes. West votes yes. And Wilkins votes yes. Would any of you like to change your vote? The consent agenda is approved, 12 ayes, 0 nays.
And I am unaware of any comments from city staff, agencies, boards, commissions, authorities, or the community forum this evening. We do have 3 special presentations in the form of proclamations. Ladies and gentlemen, whereas for more than 124 years, the University of Montana has been providing educational services in our city. And whereas the City of Missoula has benefited from the many research, teaching, and community service initiatives that make this university one of the most outstanding educational institutions in the world, and whereas one of the most important days in the university's calendar is Charter Day, an annual event celebrating the signing of the university's charter, which provides our community an opportunity to join with the University of Montana in honoring exceptional faculty, staff, students, and alumni. And whereas families, friends, neighbors, students, alumni, and faculty members past and present are welcome at the Charter Day celebration. Now, therefore, I, John Engen, Mayor of the City of Missoula and the State of Montana, do hereby proclaim February 16th, 2017 in Missoula, Montana as University of Montana Day. And that's always a nice event at UM. Next, ladies and gentlemen, whereas kindness is an attribute that grows within all people, and whereas nurturing kindness within ourselves and modeling kindness to others provides an opportunity to guide and inspire an entire community, and whereas intentionally performing an act of kindness has the potential of lifting spirits and encourages others to practice kindness, and whereas by fostering acts of kindness within our community, we help our citizens develop a base of compassion and perspective within themselves and those around them. And whereas Missoula is seen by the nation and the world as a center for bringing kindness, inspiring citizens worldwide, young and old, to take a moment and be a thoughtful, compassionate friend, neighbor, and fellow citizen. Now, therefore, I, John Engen, Mayor of the City of Missoula in the State of Montana, do hereby proclaim February 12th through 18th, 2017 in Missoula as Superhero of Kindness Week. And I see superheroes in the audience this evening, which doesn't happen at every council meeting.
I know.
How did that work?
Another one. There's so many.
Thank you very much. It was beautiful. Wow.
Oh my goodness. We get flowers too? Thank you. Thank you so much.
May I give you the proclamation?
One of those people will become a city council member.
That is always a lovely part of the evening. Thank you, superheroes, for coming down this evening.
More
And,
costumes.
ladies and gentlemen, our last proclamation of the evening. Whereas the City of Missoula joins with Canada to spur awareness in Montana, the Great Plains region, and the United States for murdered and missing Indigenous women. And whereas there is not a comprehensive estimate of Indigenous women who are missing and murdered in the United States, but many factors contribute to this epidemic, such as fear, stigma, legal barriers, racism, sexism, and the devastating levels of violence in the United States. And whereas nearly half of all Native American women in the United States have been raped, beaten, or stalked by an intimate partner, they are 2.5 times more likely to experience sexual assault. 1 in 3 will be raped in her lifetime. And on some reservations, women are murdered at a rate 10 times higher than the national average. And whereas for more than 20 years, there have been awareness raising efforts in Canada on Valentine's Day, And the Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women's Awareness Day seeks to build support by increasing awareness in the United States. And whereas there has been an increase in human trafficking in Montana due to the increased oil activity in the Bakken region, as well as in all areas of the state, now therefore I, John Engen, Mayor of the City of Missoula in the state of Montana, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, February 14th, 2017 as Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women Awareness Day. And we have some guests this evening to speak to this proclamation and to the events.
Good evening, members of the Missoula City Council. My name is Shelley Fyant, F-Y-A-N-T, and I'm a Bideret Salish. I live in Arlee, and I serve my people on the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribal Council. First of all, I want to commend the City Council for your proclamation on missing and murdered Indigenous women. As Mayor Engen said, on some reservations, Native women are murdered at more than 10 times the rate of the national average. Unlike Canada, where Indigenous leaders and advocates have pressured the government to begin to confirm the numbers of missing and murdered Indigenous women, the United States has done little to address the issue. Native women are not often seen as worthy victims. They have to first prove their innocence, that they weren't drunk or out partying. According to an article in Indian Country Today, Indigenous women go missing twice, once in real life and the second time in the news. Many of us in this room remember Sherry Arnold, the teacher in Sydney who went missing after her morning run in January of 2012 and whose body was found, or whose remains were found 3 months later. But how many of you read about the 7.2 increase in violent crimes, including 243 rapes that occurred in North Dakota as a result of the Bakken oil boom, a majority of which affected Native women? When I was talking about this issue at the dinner table recently, my daughter-in-law informed me that her aunt went missing as a young lady after a trip to Spokane, never to be seen again. My best friend in college lost her little sister to a violent domestic crime in student housing in Missoula in October of 1998 at the age of 22. She left a son for her mother in Browning to raise. Her killer's charges were dismissed because a medical examiner ruled the cause of Josie's death was unknown. These incidents forever traumatize a family, and I can speak from experience regardless of gender, as my own father died 105 days after a hit-and-run accident in 1998. These type of unsolved mysteries and unprosecuted crimes create a hole in your heart that never heals. So again, I want to commend the Missoula City Council for bringing about awareness of missing and murdered Indigenous women. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman Fyant. Anyone else care to speak to this issue this evening? Yes, ma'am.
Yade. My name is Ronalda Sosi. I'm Navajo, and I'm currently a student here at the University of Montana. I actually wanted to thank you all and commend you for recognizing this issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women. My daughter, Shelta Chase, is a senior at Hellgate High School, and she is working on a documentary with the Big Sky Film Festival, and this is her topic. And when we heard about it, we said that we had to come and actually see this proclamation take place, and I really do commend you. My daughter probably doesn't have enough courage to come up here and speak, but I would like to ask that you come and support not only her documentary, but the other high school students throughout the city of Missoula next Thursday during the Big Sky Film Festival. Her topic is about the same missing and murdered Indigenous women. While this is mostly something that's more gaining recognition in the Northwest. This is very true. These same issues are true through many Native communities throughout the U.S. and especially out on our reservation as well. So my aunt was murdered just less than a month ago out of domestic violence. And it just brings about how important that the U.S., that we recognize that this is a major problem. And I commend the Missoula City Council for stepping up and recognizing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on this item this evening? Well, thank you again for coming and addressing the issue. We will move on to the public hearing portion of our agenda. State law and our own council rules provide an opportunity for community comment in a formal way on a variety of issues. And following a staff report on each of these, council and I will invite comment. Council typically votes on the same evening as the public hearing, unless one council member requests that the item be returned for further consideration. Our first public hearing this evening is on targeted amendments to city growth policy and the future land use map relating to the North Reserve Scott Street area, and then a resolution to adopt the policy with this amendment. And I think we'll just do both presentations together, and we'll consider the items together as a function of the public hearing. And we'll begin with Mr. Zavitz.
Hi, I'm Tom Zavitz with City of Missoula Development Services, and as the mayor said, these are two separate hearings, but closely attached. So the first one is to consider a resolution to adopt the North Reserve Scott Street Master Plan, and then a resolution to adopt changes to the city growth policy land use designation map so that it reflects the North Reserve Plan. The North Reserve Scott Street Plan was developed in response to the creation of the North Reserve Scott Street Urban Renewal District in 2014. The master plan was supported by the Missoula Redevelopment Agency, and I'm going to hand this over to Chris Bean of the MRA to present the plan first, and then I will come back and go over the map. I just wanted to give you a quick location on the project. It is, as it says, it runs from North Reserve back east to the Scott Street area and sort of along the railroad track. Okay, and I'm going to hand this over to Chris now.
Chris Bean, Missoula Redevelopment Agency. Sorry it took so long. I thought I had loaded this up earlier, but it didn't seem to have taken. So I apologize for the time it's taking to get this to load up. There we go. So right after the north side, or the North Reserve Scott Street plan was, or urban renewal plan was approved by the city council, the MRA board directed the staff to go out and put together a kind of a backup or secondary or guiding plan to look at that area. So because for one thing, it's out of the ordinary for MRAs, from MRA's perspective, and it's there's so many variables in that area, from housing to heavy industrial, light industrial, heavy highway, lots of things going on, we wanted to take a good look at that and figure that out. We got that started. It ended up being a little over a 2-year process that involved the WGM as the lead group, did most of the engineering and environmental work, and then a group out of Colorado, Nori Wintering Group, put together the planning issues. We also had a group out of Portland, Oregon, put together feasibility analysis for all the recommendations. Something I think we'll probably continue to do in more and more of our plans, so they don't end up, as people complain sometimes from the public, that these plans end up on shelves. These actually will be used because we have a fairly good idea of what we're actually recommending and see that it's actually real. Anybody who's curious about the plan or the backup documents, which are quite thorough, particularly the environmental conditions piece, I would direct them to the MRA website, which is just off the city's website. If you just go to the Your Government section, go to MRA and North Reserve Scott Street. I think I'll just go. What we're looking at in this area is to try to figure out a way to divide it up into 3 main areas. The eastern part, trying to expand the uses, variety of uses, predominantly residential. From the north side neighborhood, the center portion is to try to help protect the heavy industrial uses, the high wage job uses that are ongoing right now, probably be able to expand on some of those, separated by green space, which include the city cemetery. And then toward the west end, enhancing both the retail and office type uses along and just east of the Reserve Street corridor. Now, this won't be the same picture and same colors that Tom will show you. He'll show you the version that actually fits more closely to the growth policy. But ultimately, what we wanted to do here is to provide not only placement of what kind of uses we think might work into the future, but also a series of design standards for both public and private spaces. So we have ideas on where new roads can happen, new trails, and how we should design all those. And I think that we've done a pretty good job of that. And I think that the community at large, many whom have either participated or have heard about this through an extensive public outreach process, would agree with that. With that, I think I'll turn it back over to Tom, unless you have any questions, or you can ask them later on.
Thank you, Mr. Bean.
Okay, so the process that Chris was talking about overlapped with our city growth policy process, which ended about a year and a half ago or so. And so while we were working on the growth policy, we set aside this area of our land use designation map, knowing that there was a more detailed planning process going on. So with that in mind, we sort of put a hold on it, adopt it as it was previous to the work we did on our growth policy. And then when Chris's plan finished up, the North Reserve Scott Street Master Plan, they came up with this concept map, which I'm taking right from the map that Chris just showed you. And these are the uses that their planning process, which I should say was very thorough, and this plan and process was one of the best ones that we've seen, certainly since I've been here. And so, as you can see, as Chris said, we move from, on the far western side, that sort of commercial use, intensive regional commercial, into that industrial area where the Roseburg plant is currently and will probably be for some time. And Chris's plan adds in this sort of intermediate uses between the industrial in the center and the regional commercial along Reserve Street. And so those are some mixed uses and opportunities for residential in that sort of lavender color. Then on the east side, they did a similar thing where the residential exists. They added in some sort of buffering type uses. And of course, you have the 2 cemeteries there and a park. But they added in some intermediary uses to help buffer that residential from the industrial land there. So this is the plan they came up with, and it was our job then to decide how these uses were going to fit into our current land designation, growth policy land designation map. This is what we left it as, and you can see that it's really basic. It has industrial in the center, it has some regional commercial on the far left, and the residential on the right with some park space in between the industrial and the residential. So we needed to make our map fit with what that plan came up with. And so we did that by adding these intermediate land use designations that we had already had categories for, and we added those on top of where the North Reserve Plan was indicating some mixed uses and buffering uses. So this is the actual map amendment that we are proposing tonight, and you will be adopting through resolution. We visited the planning board a couple months ago. They approved this and really had no comment. I think they liked it, and that was a fairly swift process. So unless you have any questions, that's all I've got right now.
Thank you, Mr. Zavitz. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I will open the public hearing. Would anyone in the audience care to comment on either the land use map or adopting that land use map to the growth policy? All right. With that, I will close the public hearing. Are there questions from council members? Seeing none, Mr. DeBari?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and for the presentation. So we have 2 recommended motions. The first one is to adopt a resolution to adopt the Our Missoula 2035 Growth Policy, 2035 Amended Future Land Use Designation Map in the North Reserve Scott Street Area Master Plan Amendments. And the second motion is to adopt a resolution adopting the North Reserve Scott Street Master Plan Issue Plan.
And that motion is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? Mr. Von Lossberg?
I just want to thank the folks for the work put into this, and anytime I see work done in this area, it reminds me of one of the first things that several of us on council, Ms. Bentley and Mr. Hess and I dealt with, the White Pine Sash site. Thank you. And the fight we had to recognize part of that site for its potential for residential, and you start seeing that play into a broader landscape here. So thanks again for the work on this, and I'm glad to support it.
Further discussion? Mr. DeBari?
I too would just like to thank staff for their work on this. I know that there were a number of public meetings associated with crafting the plan and the map, and this is the product of a lot of public input. So I appreciate the opportunity that you guys created for the public to be a part of this, and look forward to supporting the motions.
Further discussion? Seeing none, we've had a public hearing. We'll have a roll call vote on both items.
On both the motion to adopt the resolution as well as the motion to adopt the plans, we're doing two things here. Bentley votes yes. Cares votes yes. And Dabari votes yes. Hedall votes yes. Hess votes yes. Jones votes yes. Marler votes yes. Sweeney votes yes. Von Lossberg votes yes. West votes yes. And Wilkins votes yes. And Armstrong votes yes. Would anybody like to change your vote? It's 12 ayes.
And the resolutions are passed. We'll move on to communications from the mayor. I will pass this evening. We'll begin comments from council members with Mr. Dabari. Ms. Cares.
I wanted to apologize for missing last week. I was in Michigan visiting my in-laws. It was their first time meeting my daughter, and they all loved her. Big surprise. I found the minutes very fascinating reading and really appreciate all my fellow council members' input on the development agreement that was approved last week. I just wanted to sort of echo or maybe underline what Ms. Jones said. She said, there are states that have statuses that require labor peace agreements for public projects. There are municipalities that have ordinances. And I think we need to have that community discussion and set that aside and give it the discussion it merits, because it's really quite a complex policy decision. I think that is incredibly important, and I think we should hold that discussion sooner than later. I think we need to have a similar discussion around affordable housing as a function of receiving TIF funds, but perhaps at a different time. I think if we were to accomplish those things in the next 16 months, we would be able to give ourselves a big pat on the back. So thanks again to my fellow council members for their input. I would have voted with you. Thanks.
Ms. West, Ms. Armstrong, Ms. Bentley, Ms. Marler, Mr. Wilkins, Ms. Sweeney, Mr. Hess, Mr. Von Lossberg, Ms. Jones.
I do want to talk. I wanted to say thank you so much for the information about the Indigenous women and the issues that they face. And the documentary, the Big Sky Documentary Festival is coming up starting this next week. And I am so excited to go see the Eloise Coble documentary regarding an amazing woman who brought a class action lawsuit against the federal government. So we were actually down there this Sunday, and the Wilma was closed, and that's because it starts this coming Sunday. So this coming Sunday, I think it's called 100 Years is the name of her documentary, and there's some great stuff coming, so I hope people can catch that.
Ms. Hedall.
In case you're tired of just seeing me sit in a chair, you can come and watch me dance this Saturday at the Missoula Children's Theater for the Downtown Dance Collective's feature of Dancing with the Missoula Stars. And I'm aware that star is probably a stretch. But that being said, I have been somewhat professionally trained and will be dancing for a good cause. So, thanks.
Thank you. That will move on to committee reports. These items weren't approved unanimously in committees, and the chairperson of that committee will make a motion reflecting the committee's action. We'll take comment on these items before we vote. We have one of those committee reports in Parks and Conservation. Mr. Von Lossberg.
Thanks. It dawns on me, I'm not sure we actually needed a motion, but anyway. Recommend to direct park staff to pursue replacement of the Kiwanis Park shelter using the competitive bid process. And may I speak to that?
Mr. Von Lossberg.
So I do, to let the public know, and colleagues who weren't in the Parks Committee, Park staff brought a recommendation for replacement of the Kiwanis shelter that's not there anymore right now through a process. It's a joint power negotiation, and would result in a shelter being produced and sent from Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. I'm hoping people are nodding, and Ms. Armstrong might want to weigh on this as well. We had a good debate about this versus the opportunity to bid this locally. I'll sum that up by saying that there was near unanimous, not completely unanimous, interest from the committee in not pursuing the recommended staff direction and instead going through a competitive sealed bid process with the sense that there may be local vendors who would be interested and have bid on prior projects, the North Side Shelter being one of those, who would be interested in this work. And there was pretty robust interest in the committee in seeing that play out. And I think I speak for most of the committee in saying we'd certainly like to see that. It is unclear in this development environment what the cost will be associated with that. It is possible it would be a lower cost item than if we'd gone the route recommended by staff. It is possible it will be a higher cost one, and the committee is interested in seeing that data and how it plays into then installation, assembly and installation. So I just wanted to be clear to colleagues and again the public that this is a bit of a data gathering opportunity for us to see how this works out. I don't believe there's anyone who's interested in, making these things more expensive and take longer to do. But by the same token, if we have an opportunity to do this work within the community for a fair price, I think they'll be interested in doing that. And this is a good way to see if that will bear out. And we'll certainly see the results of that competitive sealed process and be able to make a decision on it. So, thank you.
Further discussion? Ms. Armstrong?
As Brian said, or Mr. Von Lossberg, I think we're supposed to use our proper titles. Even if this does bear out costing a little bit more or taking a little bit longer, I really appreciate Parks' flexibility in letting us explore this, because 50% of every dollar that we spend locally is going to come back into the community, and to me that's worth it. And I know that this is somewhat, it may seem symbolic, but I think we might be able to pursue policy based on what we find from this and try and spend more locally, unless it's just something so unique that we cannot produce locally. I think we have to go down this track as often as possible.
Ms. Karras?
I voted against this item, which resulted in coming here to this part of the agenda today, and I'll be voting against it now. I appreciate Mr. Von Lossberg's reasoning, and am also interested in the results, but I felt like what I heard from park staff was that what we're getting, or what we could get from that person in Michigan, is a really satisfactory product that would withstand all of the things it needs to withstand. And when weighing local preference to municipal expense, I was more swayed by a lower expense. So I'll be voting no again. Thank you.
Mr. Wilkins?
So I kind of wanted something different there outside of a metal thing that we see all over the place, the same kind. Something that was a little decorative for Kiwanis part. And I also would really support something that's local, even if it would cost a few more dollars, because you're hiring local people. And like Julie said, that money will come back into the community some other ways. I think it's important that we try to do things local before we go out and look in Michigan or wherever for things.
Further discussion? Ms. Marler?
I'm going to vote in favor of the motion, and I appreciate both sides of the reasoning. I just thought there was a lot of good discussion about something like this could be made here in Missoula. I just wanted to comment, too, that the referral, if anyone was looking at this and following, the referral is a little bit confusing in terms of the contract that was brought to us was for a certain amount, and then a certain amount. It's just confusing. It would be helpful, I think, in the future if the expenses were lined out a little bit more clear, because I'm still not sure right now when this is going out to bid, like how much is the total amount of the bid. If I were going to tell people that there'd be X amount to bid on a picnic shelter, it's just not really clear how much that amount is. But the amount that we're not spending is $30,930.85. At this time, we could end up spending more than that.
Further discussion? Mr. Von Lossberg?
I think for clarity, if people look at the presentation that was posted, it's clearer in the presentation.
Further discussion? Anyone in the audience care to comment? All right, with that, we will have a voice vote on the motion. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Nay. Motion carries. We'll move on to Public Works. Mr. Hess.
Thanks. I move we authorize the mayor to execute a subscription agreement contract with Ride Amigos to provide commuter transportation information and trip planning services in the Missoula region. I'd like to speak to it briefly.
Mr. Hess?
We had a good discussion at the Public Works Committee on the software package that Missoula in Motion is providing. So the city, as the financial agent for the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is the joint city-county entity that receives federal transportation dollars, has the opportunity to purchase this software package. It's a software as a service contract. It upgrades and enhances Missoula in Motion's trip logging tool and opens it up to a broader audience. And it's, from my perspective, pretty innovative software that creates a one-stop location for trip planning and commuting information. The procurement process was a sole source procurement, but it was a very thorough process involving all of the different TDM partners in the community. And I think that it'll add a lot of value to what we're doing right now from a transportation demand management standpoint. I know Jessica's here to answer questions, but I encourage your support.
And that motion is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? Mr. DeBari?
So in committee, I voted against this, and I want to share a little bit more of the rationale behind that. I appreciated staff's level of enthusiasm in bringing this before us, but what I didn't get from the presentation was some long-term goals about how we could try to achieve the desired ends that would be associated with this website and app, and I wasn't sure of what kind of data was available from other communities that have used this in terms of trying to actually get to the desired ends of changing people's behavior when it comes to making transportation choices. I think one of the concerns that I have specifically on this is that that this particular software seems to be catering to an extremely narrow slice of our community. As Ms. Morris mentioned during committee, right now the current Missoula in Motion website has about 400 users for a similar kind of service that this software would provide. And that's an incredibly narrow slice of our community. It's less than, well, it's actually just a little bit more of 1/2% of Missoulians. And so while I think this software could have value in our community, I need to have a greater demonstration of how we can grow from 400 users to 4,000 users or more, and try to get an understanding of how we really are going to be making a difference using these CMAQ dollars in a way that they couldn't make a better difference or a bigger difference spending that money for Mountain Line or for bike ped facilities or other kinds of things. So as I said, I believe that this software could have value for community. It just remained undemonstrated for me, and I'd like to sort of put this in context of how a similar amount of money, which is about $48,000 over 3 years, might provide a better benefit than reaching a rather narrow slice of our community.
Ms. Armstrong on the motion.
So I supported this. Unfortunately, as John was saying, our technology in this room was down that day, and we weren't able to see any of the videos or demonstration presentations from Jessica's group because the computer was not talking to the screen. But what I understand that this is going to do, quite frankly, the previous website was terrible, and that's why nobody was using it, and that's why no one was accessing it, and it only allowed you to log trips. This will be more of a hub where I think you're going to bring in Uber users who are looking for rideshare, and I think that you have people that are going to be looking to eventually share cars and find the best way to bike, the best way to walk, whether a bridge is down. It's going to have user input, so you'll know if a path is not cleared or a tree is down. There's going to be a lot more input from the users, and companies will be able to use this because they can create their own groups, which previously they could not do. Staff time will be reduced, and the website that they have now that is terrible will be replaced by this function. So there will be cost savings there, and I'm really happy it's being used 100% paid for by grant dollars. So I support this fully.
Ms. Marler?
I'm excited to try this. I'm going to vote for it. I appreciate that staff is trying new things. I was a user of the old website back in the day, and it was fun to win prizes and stuff. And I think that internet technology is here to stay, and people will use it for informing themselves and tracking their own behavior. I know, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that people will be using their mobile phones over the next 3 years. I know. So I'm excited to try it, and I get the basic gist of what's going on, and I think that because we weren't able to have the whole demonstration, there's probably things that we weren't able to see that day, but I'm excited to vote for it.
Ms. Bentley?
I support this. I understand there's going to be an app coming out soon, and if you're looking for the reason why there's going to go from 400 to 4,000, the fact that it's going to be app-based is that reason, and that's why I support it.
Further discussion? Ms. West?
Can I ask a question right now? Okay. Are we going to upgrade to having the app as well in addition to the website?
Ms. Morris?
Anything that Ride Amigos creates, whether it's for Google or University of Alabama, would be provided to us as well. And so anything that's going to make it easier for the public to access, including using an app, I will definitely be interested in that. I would just like to take a second to add, from my perspective, even if this product wasn't available for the public to use, like this was just an internal thing, it's worth the money that we would be spending is worth it just in that, because it is going to help us do our jobs more productively, just like a new software program for Public Works to do sidewalks, or for Parks and Rec to reserve pavilions. This technology is going to allow me and my staff to do our jobs, but it also has direct public benefit that is not something that's typically available through a software platform. So for me, that just makes this even more worth the money. And also it is grant funded, so that's another benefit.
That was Jessica Morris for the record.
Yes,
Further discussion?
Ms. Morris, how many man hours do you think this is going to save you, or how many FTEs do you think this program equals?
I would say, just off the top of my head, maybe half an FTE, if not more. One of the programs that we run that we consider to be our most successful is Commuter Challenge, which is only 2 weeks of the year, but it is the time where we see our numbers go to 1,500, where we've got 75 businesses with 1,500 employees doing, commuting sustainably. And we want to be able to maintain that level of engagement and grow that level of engagement throughout the year. We ran Commuter Challenge this past year through Google Docs spreadsheets because we couldn't do it through our current tool. So this will solve that problem, and it will solve it year-round, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, plus carpooling, plus all kinds of things that we currently don't have. Carpooling for me is the one thing that is the biggest missing piece to all of the TDM programs that we have. We have transit, we have van pool, we have bike walk, we have all of the things, except we don't have carpool. There's no way for folks living in different areas of this community and outside to find rides, and so that is going to be the biggest gain, I think, and something that we're going to push bigly.
Further discussion?
Oh, sorry.
Ms. West?
Just adopted that word. Anyways.
All right, so I originally voted against this just because I'm a little bit hesitant, kind of for the same reasons John stated earlier, but I'm going to support it this time around, and I really hope that maybe you come back in a couple of months and kind of talk about what your plan is for outreach and how the numbers have changed and how the implementation is going, and maybe also whether or not it, like internally, the city can use it for their Fit City program and how those things could work. So
Definitely.
I'll support it.
Further discussion? Mr. DeBari?
So as Ms. West said, if we're going to do this, I want it to be successful, obviously, and that's really where things fell a little short for me because I wasn't sure what the plan was to help document that success. So that's what I would like to ask, is that we figure out the kinds of metrics that we need to collect in order to help establish what the success of this program is, and that it's really providing the folks in the community an opportunity to help them make better decisions, and that it's really working towards the ends that we received the CMAQ money for. So, I appreciate that. If we do go ahead and approve this, which it looks like we will, that we will have a chance to hear from you in the future about, what difference this is making in the community to help support the expense associated with it. So thanks.
Definitely.
Ms. Sweeney on the motion?
I will be supporting the motion, and I just wanted to add, I was able to do a city tour with Marty, and one of the ladies in partnership, if you can visit with them, this is something that I think they would be very interested in for their employees. So just as you're doing your outreach, add them to your list too, please.
Great, thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, we will have a roll call vote on the subscription agreement.
On the contract, DeBari. DeBari votes no. Heddle. Heddle votes yes. Hess votes yes. Jones votes yes. Marlar votes yes. Sweeney votes yes. Von Lossberg votes yes. West votes yes. Wilkins votes yes. Armstrong votes yes. Bentley votes yes. And Cares votes yes. Would anyone like to change your vote? It is 12 ayes and 1 nay.
And the contract's approved. We'll move
I'm
on.
sorry, 11 ayes and 1 nay. Let's get it to add up to 12. That would be important.
Legal
All right.
counsel reminding me of how many council members we have this evening.
He can do math in his head like that.
Yes, he can. He likes to cipher. Mr. Hess.
Thanks. I'd move approval of the purchase of one 2017 Dodge Ram SSV 1500 crew cab four-wheel drive pickup to Billion Dodge of Bozeman, Montana for $34,650. And if I may speak to it briefly.
Mr. Hess.
This was completely non-controversial. We placed it in the, wherever we are, committee reports section of the agenda because we didn't have all of the necessary we didn't have all of the documentation posted with the referral, so we just wanted an extra opportunity for the public to see this and be aware of it.
That motion is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? Anyone in the audience interested in the crew cab? In that case, we will have a roll call vote on the purchase.
On the purchase of a police special services vehicle, Heddle votes yes. Hess votes yes. Jones votes yes. Marlar votes yes. Sweeney votes yes. Von Lossberg votes yes. West votes yes. Wilkins votes yes. Armstrong votes yes. Bentley votes yes. Cares votes yes. And DeBari votes yes. That's 12 ayes.
And that motion is approved. We have no additional committee reports. Our item of new business is the legislative update. You're all in receipt of that. We continue to do the stuff we continue to do, and that's defend our honor up in Helena and hope that we still have resources at the end of the 90 days. Anything on anyone's list this evening for consideration? All right, with that, are there any additional items to be referred? Seeing none of those, any miscellaneous communications, reports, petitions, or announcements? I will thank Ms. West for the cookies, of which I had 2, and the tart hearts, which are here, which are way better than the weird. Where they're from Maryland? You brought the candy? Those are way better than the super sweet chalky hearts. So thank you for that as well. Yeah, I will. Thank you very much. With that, ladies and gentlemen, as always, I thank you for your service, and we will be adjourned.